Looking to dominate the sportsbook and your fantasy football leagues this weekend? Well, my friends, you've come to the right place. We've got expert injury analysis, NFL best bets, and of course, fantasy football tips. Don't go anywhere, folks. The show's about to start. Welcome, Degen, far and wide. What we love to do here. Let's talk injuries. Biggest one, Brandon Ayuk, ACL, MCL, multi-ligament knee injury. He's out for the season. Josh Oliver, anytime touchdown, plus 850. This was 10-1 earlier.
From a Denver standpoint, give it a defense to get in the end zone.
Welcome to the official Degen Docs Red Zone Bitching Hour.
The only thing I want to bitch about is basically they were so bad that CD was just, he had a decent day. Let's get this off the screen for just a second. I'm going to hijack this. We're going to go to the professor's office hours.
Oh!
For a second here.
This NFL Week 15 betting picks and fantasy tips edition of the Degen Docs on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit up to $100. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football in the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Woo! Welcome, Degens, far and wide, to another edition of the Degen Docs. What is up, folks? I am one of your hosts here, the Degen Doc, and I, more importantly, am joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Doing good, man. This is, I believe, my first contact with human existence, basically all day. Well, besides my wife, of course. But
no, yeah, okay. You're glad you threw that in there, buddy. Like she doesn't count. You almost really got yourself in a hole before the weekend even starts. So
I know, man.
Way to really.
I saved myself.
Yeah, you did a little bit. It was kind of close. We'll have to see what Kaylin thinks about that. But yeah, man. Look, I'm excited. I'm not all the way back, but I feel much better than I have been this past week. So that is where the energy is coming from.
Good deal.
We got a full slate, a full 16 games of football. So it is beautiful. NFL Week 15. Cheers. I'm still a sober Sally, but cheers to those listening. Cheers to you all, whether it's with water, Haterade, or your favorite alcoholic beverage.
The intern and I'll drink for you. It's okay.
Hydrate. Look, it's a long weekend, a lot of football. Make sure you hydrate. You don't want to cramp up on your 6th beer and your 15th wing. It's never a good thing. So, hey, as always, folks, we appreciate when you get the comment section jumping. If you got any questions, let us know. We've got a jam-packed show. We are going to be talking about injury targets, from injury reports to your pocket. We got our fastest 3 minutes. We've got our best bets, our Degen Parlay. And, of course, if you stick around with the end to us, last 15 minutes or so, we're going to break down this Thursday night football game, tell you our best bets, how we see it going down. So, without further ado, let's talk a little bit here because let's talk about the minor leagues for a little bit. Of course, college football, some groundbreaking news.
Yeah, man.
Bill Belichick, a mere 15 wins away from breaking the record as the winningest coach of all time in the NFL.
50 years in the NFL, basically.
He decides to go to the college game, head coach of UNC, $10 million a year. I think it's a 5-year deal, 3-year deal, whatever the hell it is. But what is your instant reaction, man? Were you shocked? Do you think this is a good move? Just real quick takeaways.
Yeah, I was definitely shocked, especially like you said, being so close to the NFL all-time wins record. Like it'll be interesting to see how he transitions into the college ranks. But like I was listening to the McAfee show earlier today, and they had Mike Tomlin on there, and they asked him about what he thought about Belichick moving down to the college ranks. And he basically said, hey, I had two sons that played college football. I would gladly send my sons to a university that is basically ran, or the football program is ran by Bill Belichick. He is going to teach those kids up right. He's been basically running, New England almost like a college system, from basically being in charge of everything for years. So it'll be interesting to see how it transitions to the recruiting and all that kind of stuff. But he has so much football knowledge. I don't think it'll be a big thing for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were texting about it, and I think your first thing was like, who wouldn't want to learn from arguably the GOAT of coaching?
Yeah,
right. Anybody who, whether it's the parents or the kid or whatever, like, if you want to become a better football player, you have to imagine that Bill Belichick is a guy who can make you a better football player.
Well, and you even started off by saying, hey, let's talk about the minor leagues. Like, he's going to treat it like a minor league.
Yeah. A funnel.
Basically it's going to be a funnel straight to the NFL. If you have the talent to get to the NFL, he's going to teach you the ins and outs of the game of football itself.
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting. I mean, man, college football, there's a bunch of things changing. But what hasn't changed is a tradition, a game that's been playing for a long time, because it is Go Army beat Navy
week. As a week to itself.
Look, folks, this is obviously has been one of my favorite games for a while, but now that I am actually in the service, it is an extra special game. Not been able to go to in person yet, but definitely on the calendar, on the agenda. So I want to take a quick second here. We're actually going to break down some of the sick-ass uniforms from this game, and then we will start talking about the NFL. So we will start with the good guys. And I'm going to have Derek give us the rundown. We're going to do brief wave tops, right? Nothing too crazy. I always do a long thread every year about the history, the uniforms, the game, all that stuff. So if you're a history nerd like myself, look forward to that on the socials. But Derek is going to give us a quick breakdown of the uniforms, a little bit of what they mean. So we're starting with your Army, your 11-1 Army Black Knights, setting tribute to the 101st this year. Take it away, brother.
Yeah, like you said, they're paying homage to the 101st Airborne Unit, which was first developed back in World War II. They were known as the Screaming Eagles, and that's what they've basically named their helmets. They have Screaming Eagles right across the forehead there, with Old Abe, which is just basically a bald eagle depiction right in the center. It's kind of like a little gold emblem right in the center of the front of the helmet. It's kind of cool. On the sides of the helmet, they have playing card suits. So, clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades, depending on the
company,
the unit affiliation within the 101st Airborne Unit, they would basically give them a different suit. So, for the Army football team, it's kind of been randomized, but each player will have a different suit on the sides of their helmet. On the right side of their chest or right shoulder, they'll have the invasion star planted there. And then it's kind of cool, especially like the sides of their shoulders. Their helmet is kind of like white speckled, basically showing that it's kind of paying homage to like the snow and the fog that they had to fly through.
Back
in the day
in Bastogne, right? They got it on there, right on their kind of where your name patch would be.
Yep, and then you still have the copper Athena shield there on where to go. I guess I don't know exactly where it is, but the typical Army
on the back there
emblem right on the back. There you go.
Yeah, and then I mean, look, 101st over Campbell. They definitely take it fucking seriously over there. If you're in 101st, you're in 101st. Similar to Bragg, Liberty, whatever you want to call it now. That is the good guys side. And of course, look, we will be enemies on Saturday, but always brothers in arms.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I would necessarily call them the enemies at the end of the day.
On Saturday, between the hours of 1500 and I don't know, 1800, whatever it may be. They're the enemies, but your naval seamen Paying homage to the Jolly Rogers. Tell us a little bit about the Navy midshipmen.
Yeah, the midshipmen will be paying homage to another World War II unit, fighter squadron, which was known as the Jolly Roger. And basically their whole saying was "Fear the Bones." So they've incorporated "Fear the Bones" into the interior collar of the front of the jerseys themselves. The Jolly Roger has had 9 different aircrafts flown since they started back in World War II. So I believe it's the pant legs, they have 9 chevrons, and I believe maybe the jerseys as well. Basically paying tribute to the 9 aircrafts flown throughout the squadron's history.
Yeah, I like how they have the looks like the Marine Corps. Navy Marine Corps are basically the same thing. I like how they have the Marines right by their crotch.
Yep.
Really helps show how they value them there. But look, folks, it's always go Army, beat Navy in this household. But obviously, great game. Obviously, every single one of these individuals is shortly after, they all got their assignments recently. They're going to be heading off and being leaders in our armed forces there. So awesome game. If you love football, if you love the country. So appreciate y'all letting us get into that a little bit. Again, if you want to learn more, I will be putting out a long thread either tomorrow or Saturday. But appreciate you, Derek, breaking that down. Let's get into the actual things we want to talk about, which is the National Football League. Before you do that, let me tell you about the SGPN app. Download the SGPN app because it's completely free and it's got all the shows and pick pages that you could watch. Get it wherever you get your apps. All right, my friend. We're starting our first segment of Banged Up Bets. Look, folks.
How are we going to take advantage of all of these injuries across the league this week?
There's a shit ton. There is a shit
ton.
We feel, hey, we're not just going to tell you, run through the injuries. We'll do a little bit of that fastest 3 minutes, but anybody can tell you what the injuries are, who practiced, who didn't practice. But we want to say what injuries matter and how can we take advantage of them? How can we actually give you actionable information? Thus was born Banged Up Bets. On a pretty good run here for myself, 4-2 last 2 weeks. So let's continue the streak here. I'm going with Ladd McConkey. He is limited practice ×2. He's expected to be back. He is the Los Angeles Chargers offense, especially that passing game. No JK. When he was out, it was very evident. Herbert was finding Palmer and some other guys, but especially in the first half, just did not get it done. Ladd McConkey's his guy. And this Tampa Bay secondary is not only bad, but they're beat up. You already had safety Jordan Whitehead on the IR with a pec injury. Now Antoine Winfield is going to be out for a couple weeks with a knee injury. Antoine Winfield, the leader of that secondary back there. You got a lot of young guys, and you have their best wide receiver. I think 70 yards. Yes, it's a little bit higher of a line for a typical Chargers wide receiver, but Ladd McConkey, man, that Atlanta game. He had 100+ yards, and nobody else had close to 50. Right. So Ladd McConkey is the guy when he's in there, and he's got a great matchup against this Tampa Bay secondary. So 70.5 receiving yards, -110. Another guy I it's getting a little cute, but that's all right. We're going to go with Baltimore Ravens running back Justice Hill over 29.5 rush and receiving yards. He's a guy that I've hit on a lot this year. Actually, first game of the season started off with him on his receiving yards. Love him out of the backfield. And he's playing a really, really bad New York Giants team. Look, this team is quit. Tommy DeVito is going to be starting. It's a 16.5 point spread right now. I'm not watching the game to save my mental health as a Giants fan. This team sucks. We have, basically Danny DeVito starting back there. Yes, Derrick Henry is going to get hit. His line is at about 100 yards. Whether they're up by 20 points and they just decide to let Henry rest, whether he gets nicked up, whatever. I think 100 yards is a little bit pricey for me. I think he gets there, but I'll go Justice Hill because in a blowout, RB2 gets some carries. And starting linebacker, their best linebacker, Bobby Okereke, is dealing with a back injury. He's not projected to play right now, not practicing. Tyler Nubin, their second-round safety out of Minnesota, their leading tackler on the team, he just got put on IR. So I like Hill out of the backfield, and I like him to get some garbage time carries. This is a bad defense who's going to have nothing to play for. So give me Hill over 29.5 rushing receiving at -115. And then Brian Robinson Jr. over 76.5 rush yards at -110. The injury I'm targeting, Derek Carr. I know you're probably like, how the hell does that go with anything? This team stinks. The New Orleans Saints. They traded away Marshawn Lattimore. Ralston Adebo's on the IR. They just lost their quarterback again. They're going to quit because the Washington Commanders, we'll talk about this a little later, 7.5-point spread. I think the Commanders lay it on them, and I think they just hammer them and run the ball. We just saw this before the Commanders went on the bye and got even a little bit healthier. They beat the tar out of the Tennessee Titans. Robinson went for over 100 yards. I have a similar game script here. I think the Commanders handle the Saints fairly easily. Whether it's Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener, that's not going to be a lot of offense. So I like the Commanders to control the game, use the running game to control the clock, and to really just pound it down the Saints' throat there. So give me Brian Robinson over 76.5 rush yards at -110. All right, my friend, what do you got for the people?
Yeah, give me James Cook over 49.5 rushing yards against this Detroit defense that just keeps losing dudes. I think it's just one of those things that, yes, Detroit has one of the best defenses in the league, but when you're bringing guys in basically cold every week, it's going to take a toll here. And I think, especially coming off that loss, the Bills are ready to make things right and really hand the ball off to James Cook and get him his yards in this one. Give me Grant Calcaterra over 21.5 receiving yards. Dallas Goedert's been out with that knee injury. He's been put on the IR. The Pittsburgh Steelers just stink over the middle, and Grant Calcaterra can take advantage of that. And then finally, Terry McLaurin over 67.5 receiving yards. To start the season, Saints defensive backs looked fairly solid. Marshawn Lattimore has now gone over to Washington. And if it were me, I'd be asking him all kinds of questions about that Saints defense and how those Saints DBs like to play, as well as Paulson Adebo. He's been placed on the IR as well. So, the Saints defensive backfield has been beat up. Terry McLaurin, like you were talking about with McConkey, he is that dude in Washington. So I do think, especially coming off the bye, Terry McLaurin will have a little bit of a day, and the Commanders will probably end up putting it on New Orleans.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you with all these, actually. I think they're all entirely too low. I mean, Noah Brown also out with a kidney injury. He's probably done for the season, right? So that, McLaurin, it becomes even more of the guy. Grant Calcaterra is clearly the third receiving option in that offense when Goddard is out. So there's some chemistry there. And then our RB1, 49.5, that's a low number. I mean, for a good Bills team, you imagine there's going to be some points here. I know he had a little bit of a stinker of a week last week, but I think that's a little bit of an overreaction for, like you said, a beat up Detroit defense. So love it there. All right, folks, that's your banged up bets. We're going to get into now the fastest 3 minutes. That's right, folks. We're going to be just quickly spouting out what injury information we think is important enough that you need to know, right? So obviously paying a little bit of homage to a little bit of a boomer there. The great fastest 3 minutes. We will do our best to try to be as animated as the GOAT there. You ready?
Let's rock and roll.
Let's get it. All right. So we got Arizona Cardinals tight end Tyler McBride dealing with a knee injury. Limited practice today after no practice yesterday. He should be good to go. Then we head over to snowy little Buffalo, who's going up to the Motor City. We've got wide receiver Keon Coleman coming back from a wrist, and tight end Dalton Kincaid, both full practicing, both projected to play this week.
Yeah, J.C. Horn down in Carolina, limited in practice today with a groin injury. We've talked a little bit before how groin injuries in particular are just kind of almost like hamstring injuries. They're kind of a nuisance with DeAndre Swift as well, basically dealing with a groin injury over in Chicago. He did not practice at all today. It'll be interesting to see if he goes, something to definitely keep an eye on.
Going up to the AFC North, we've got Joe Burrow, who had a little bit of trouble in his household. I think we just found out that he has his girlfriend on the payroll, which is always interesting. But dealing with a little bit of a knee and wrist injury. Never like to see the wrist come back up on the injury report, but talked about it on Monday. He should be good to go. Limited practice. Not really expecting much there. In Cleveland, we're expected to get back wide receiver Cedric Tillman, who is practicing after missing the last several weeks with a concussion. Good sign there. Not so good sign. Starting tight end David Njoku, 2 straight days of did not practice with a hamstring injury. You guys know I hate hamstrings, so I'm a bit concerned on Njoku, who has a great matchup this week. Unfortunately, may not be able to go this week.
In Denver, Riley Moss, defensive back, dealing with a little bit of a knee injury. He has not practiced the last couple of days. And then down in Indianapolis, traveling up to Denver, can Josh Downs take advantage of Riley Moss's most likely absence, as he has practiced? He had a full practice today, coming off that shoulder injury.
A couple of quarterbacks in AFC West. We've got Las Vegas quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who famously used an air cast for just a little bit of a bone bruise. He did not practice Thursday, but they play on Monday night, so this is like their Wednesday game, or Wednesday practice. You know how I feel about Wednesday practices. Don't take too much into it. Don't read too much into it. Take it with a grain of salt. So I still think O'Connell has a good chance to play on Monday night. And then you got Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. Ankle thigh injury. He finished the game. It's limited practice today after not practicing yesterday. Don't have a lot of fear there. And then Ladd McConkey talks about him. He's back to practicing as well. Expect both of those guys to be up and ready to go for Sunday.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill's still popping up every once in a while with that questionable tag. He did have a full practice with that wrist injury today. Fully expect him to be out there. He was out there last week, played the whole game. And then Derek Carr in New Orleans with hand injury, concussion. He has not practiced at all this week. I don't necessarily expect him to go. It'll be interesting to see which backup quarterback ends up taking those snaps.
Yep. And then we've got, speaking of backup quarterbacks, that's the entire New York Giants quarterback room this season. No Drew Lock dealing with heel injury. Looks like we're going to get Tommy Danny DeVito, RIP, any hope for the Giants. And bit concerning here, Jets running back Breece Hall not practicing, not a good sign. Interim head coach Elbridge was saying he was struggling with the knee injury. I'm not expecting Breece Hall to be able to play this week. So load up Braylon Allen or maybe the Davis guy out of the backfield. It's going to be tough. Brutal blow for a lot of teams. Yeah,
let me go ahead and close this out. George Pickens over in Pittsburgh dealing with that hamstring injury. We've kind of known that this was a little bit more serious than we originally thought. He has not practiced at all this week. Don't expect him to go. Tony Pollard down in Tennessee has not practiced the last couple of days with an ankle injury. Again, something to keep an eye on with him. And then Bucky Irving has not practiced the last couple of days with a back and hip related injury. Again, something to definitely keep an eye on heading into Sunday.
Yeah, especially Pollard, man. He's got a really great matchup, so it'd be nice if he's able to go. But Tajay Spears is a capable backup, so we'll see. Yeah. All right, folks, we are moving on, and we are moving to telling you about Underdog Fantasy. That's right, Underdog Fantasy. You guys know we love them over there at Underdog Fantasy. They've got boosts. They've got specials. They're trying to give away their money all the time, and so are we, because sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPNDOC. We're talking about Underdog. We got to give you our Underdog Pick'em of the week. We've got a three-man. Going back to the three-man here. Why don't you start off with us or for us, and then I'll round it out there.
Sounds good. Yeah. AJ Brown. The last time AJ Brown went up against the Steelers, he had 150 yards and 3 tuds. So in this one, I do expect him to have a little bit of a day. I'm going to take the higher receiving yards for AJ Brown at 80.5. Again, the last time they played, he absolutely had a day. There's been some news this week with him and Jalen Hurts not necessarily seeing eye to eye. I think they get it right in Pittsburgh, sadly.
Yeah, I know. Tough when Steelers fans giving you some picks against his team. Maybe you want to pay attention there. Also, we've got Jameis Winston heading up Kansas City there. And actually, I think Kansas City is Cleveland's at home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you got Kansas City coming to town. Kansas City secondary, a really good defense to start the year. Still not bad, but since Jalen Watson went out with that injury around week 8, this secondary has not looked the same. Jameis Winston, higher than 237.5 passing yards. What are we talking about? That's way too low. Potentially Cedric Tillman getting back. You've got Jarek Judy. You got Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
And his like when you look at his pass attempts number, it's 35.5. You think if Jameis Winston throws 35 passes, he's not getting 240 yards? That's way too low. I understand.
We've learned the hard way. No lowers on Jameis Winston.
No lowers on Jameis Winston. Not allowed.
Touchdowns, interceptions, yards.
Exactly. And who wants to bet that with Jameis Winston of all people?
Exactly.
And then Chuba Hubbard, higher than 81.5 rushing yards. He's got a great matchup against the Dallas Cowboys defense that just lost to Marvin Overshown for the year. Brutal injury. That was a heartbreaking loss. And Brad beat for a lot of us. But a heartbreaking loss to lose that way, to basically end your playoff run. They're not going to be motivated. The Panthers, meanwhile, are playing very nicely. No Jonathan Brooks. Chuba Hubbard is going to have a field day, and he's going to get a ton of carries. So we got A.J. Brown, higher than 8.5 receiving yards. Jameis Winston, higher than 237.5 passing yards. And Chuba Hubbard, higher than 81.5 rushing yards. Add those together. Plays out 6 times your money there. And that's what we're going with for our underdog pick'em of the week. We also got to tell you about Rebet. That's right, our friends over at Rebet. We're brought to you by Rebet. They're a new social sportsbook available in 45 states. This is really good for you guys who are in states where normal sportsbooks are not legal. That's, shout out to you, California, Texas, things like that. Download Rebet in the App Store and use our promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right, folks, favorite time of the episode, because we're telling you our best bets. That's right, we're going through our 4 bets that we feel the best about for this weekend. I will kick it off here. We got the Houston Texans. We've got the Miami Dolphins coming to town. Give me the Houston Texans -3. This Dolphins team, they've been getting mighty lucky to even say they have some playoff hopes alive. Yeah. I think that's even a little bit of a stretch there. They have not looked good. Derek obviously cashed on one of his locks last week with the Dolphins. I think he would even admit that was a bit of a lucky situation to even have them win that game.
Maybe
cover that in overtime. But hey, they've beaten some bad teams. That does not mean they're a good team. Meanwhile, the Texans, they had the bye week to get right. Will Anderson, I expect him to be back. I think that him and Danielle Hunter are going to really give Tua a really tough day. And I like Joe Mixon to have a day. So give me Houston at home -3.
Getting some help back on the offensive line.
As well. And linebacker Christian Harris. So some reinforcements coming in. Also, Washington Commanders, they got healthy. The biggest thing for me, Jaden Daniels, he looked different in the beginning of the year than after that rib injury. He had the bye week to get healthy. I think he comes back, has a day. And we're talking about Jake Haener, or I think Jake Haener was just announced the starting quarterback there. I mean, this Saints team is not good. They almost lost to the New York Giants when they were actually trying to win. That's really sad. This Giants team's awful. So I like the Commanders. We just saw them before the bye week handle Tennessee very easily, cover this number by a lot. So I understand it's a big number, but I think Washington beats bad teams pretty handily. So give me Washington -7.5. And then our Sunday night football game, Green Bay Packers and Seattle Seahawks under 46. I just see both these teams as 2 defenses ahead of their offenses. I don't trust Geno Smith to light up the scoreboard. You got Xavier McKinney leading the lead back there with 7 interceptions. Yep. I think Green Bay, they do a really good stopping the run. And if Zach Charbonnet is not able to go off, Kenneth Walker doesn't look like he's going to play. I don't trust Geno to just be able to sit back there and light it up. Offensive line has been a liability all year. Look for a lot of sacks in this game. And the same thing with Jordan Love. Yes, he's a gunslinger, but that leads to some interceptions, especially some bad ones in the red zone. And I think this is going to be a tough, grinded out game. Right now, 2 teams projected to be in the playoffs. I think it's going to be like a little bit of a playoff game. Prime time, I always tend to lean to the unders there as everyone's pouring money on the over. And then an over I will be taking. Give me the Patriots and the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's going to be a sneaky shootout. Yep. I think this Cardinals defense, they were playing pretty well. They picked up some injuries. I think Drake May, coming off a bye week, he's shown that he can be a bit competent there, light up this defense. And I think Kyler Murray has to figure it out. He's got a good matchup against the bad New England Patriots defense. So I think I like both these quarterbacks in these games to have a day. I think this is a bit of a shootout. Give me something like a 31-27 game there. So that's what I see this week as my Week 15 best bets. What about you, brother?
Yeah, I'm with you with the Washington Commanders. I think the Commanders just beat up on really bad teams, and especially, with Derek Carr being out for New Orleans, I really just think that Jaden Daniels and company puts it on him a little bit. I think that New Orleans has just lost basically their entire offense when it comes to Derek Carr, Chris Olave, what's his name?
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill, yeah. I mean, without those 3 dudes, you're basically left with Alvin Kamara. And Washington does play some pretty good run defense. So give me Washington at -7.5. Give me Denver going up against Indy at home. What are we talking about here? I mean, Denver at home has played really, really well basically all year, and it's not that big of a number. So Denver at home -4. The Cincinnati Bengals, again, what are we talking about here? They are 5-point favorites on the road against Tennessee. Will Levis may end up with more interceptions than 5 in this game. Cincinnati's defense isn't the best, but against a pretty poor Tennessee offense, especially if Tony Pollard doesn't end up going, this could get ugly pretty quick with the way that Cincinnati can score. And then give me the Buffalo Bills on a little bit of a bounce back spot against the Detroit Lions. Yes, Detroit just seems to put it on pretty much every team that they've played. This is in Detroit. That's the one thing that's kind of the scary part with this one. But I think Buffalo, coming off of that really tragic loss that they had to basically lock in my 4-0 week last week, I do think they bounce back against the Detroit defense that has just been beat the hell up.
There we go. All right, folks, those are your best bets. That's our prescription for the week. And now that we gave you what we feel great about when we want to lock, we want to get into a little bit of degeneracy. That's right, folks. It's time for our Degens Only parlay, something that only a true degenerate would appreciate. And I'm keeping the formula pretty simple this week. I had 3 guys I targeted. I think they're going to have great games due to their injury situations. And, I'm going to just take their touchdowns. Brian Robinson, 2 touchdowns. Justice Hill, anytime touchdown. Ladd McConkey, anytime touchdown. 78-1. I talked about why I like these guys. Brian Robinson in a blowout, can definitely see him finding the end zone twice. Justice Hill in a blowout, can see him finding the end zone. And Ladd McConkey as the wide receiver 1 against a porous secondary, find the end zone. 3 guys to find the end zone, 1 to find it Tice. 78-1. What you got for the people?
I have an anytime interception parlay. I don't know if that's necessarily a thing, but I need 8 dudes to throw picks this Sunday and Monday, I should say. So if these 8 dudes throw interceptions, and believe me, all 8 of these guys are well capable of throwing interceptions. It's 90-1. So Caleb Williams, Kirk Cousins, Jordan Love, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, and Patty Mahomes. If those 8 dudes throw a pick, nice 90-1. I do have a couple questions for you.
Yes.
Who do you think leads this list in interceptions?
Leads this list in interceptions.
He also leads the league in interceptions, but he's
golly. Is it Mahomes?
Nope. Kirk Cochains is now the NFL leader in interceptions with 15. Who do you think on this list has the least amount of interceptions?
It's got to be Anthony Richardson, right?
No.
Levis?
Nope. The least amount.
I guess Rodgers? I don't know.
Nope. Caleb Williams actually only has 5 interceptions on the year. But
really?
Yes.
That's shocking. So
yes. Caleb Williams has been taking sacks like it's his job, but he does only have 5 interceptions on the year. I do think that Minnesota gets to him a little bit and hopefully makes him see ghosts out there. Yeah. All right. That's you want to talk about degeneracy, man. 8 interceptions, sweating that out will be fun. All right, folks, we're going to talk about this game that kicks off in about 10-15 minutes here. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at mybookie.ag. We're brought to you by MyBookie, and they've been with us for years. So check out their new and improved website. Great on mobile. We're going to talk a ton of props in this game for tonight. So head on over to MyBookie, get down. But before you do, use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. You never know what $10 in a dream you could do with. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by our friends who love models, and that's Rhythm. Of course, we're talking about betting models, sports betting, AI-powered models, because they've got it all. They've got it for money line, spreads, totals, and all the props you could possibly want. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing from the leaderboards with Rhythm. NFL picks, props, college football, college basketball, NBA, Rhythm has it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, folks, it's here. The game that kicks off soon. It is your Thursday Night Football preview, breakdown. We're going to do it all here in 10 minutes and get you out by kickoff. You don't believe us? Just watch. We've got the 7-6 Los Angeles Rams heading to the 6-7 San Francisco 49ers here. You got the live odds up right now? I do. Right now we're sitting at Rams +3 at -118. Niners are favored at home at -102. The total sitting right at 48.5. You can get the Rams on the money line at +130. 49ers at -155.
There we go. So 49ers still the home team is favored. Real quick on the injury front. So for the Rams, no Tyler Higbee, still coming off that ACL, MCL injury, and no Kobe Durant with bruised lungs. That's their starting cornerback there. That one's going to be a little bit of an issue. They do have left tackle Eric Jackson and Demarcus Robinson will be playing. For the 49ers, no Trent Williams and no Malik Mustafa. However, they do have Isaac Guerendo, Nick Bosa, Drake Greenlaw, but no Khalil Davis, who is out and it was inactive as it was announced. So, my friend, how do you see this game going down, and what are our best bets for tonight's game?
Yeah, I think we're going to differ on this one a little bit, but give me the Rams. I took them at 2.5 at even money a couple hours ago, but it looks like it's bumped up to 3, so definitely would give me – I'd take that as well. But I like the hooks. I don't like to necessarily push, so I'd stick with 2.5. How I see this going down, basically, I think the Rams have gotten that offense humming over the last few weeks. We saw them just put up 40 points against the Buffalo Bills team that is so evidently one of the best teams in the NFL. I really think the Rams continue to put some points up. I do think San Fran can keep it close in this one, but I do think the Niners injuries have just caught up with him on a short week. I just think that the Rams can get it done in this one. Prop wise, give me Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown at +130. I also took, I looked at his receptions. I looked at his yards. I ended up going longest reception. So it was over 21.5. Kyron Williams, give me his over 73.5. And then Colby Parkinson over 8.5 yards. Like, come on, that's one catch for Colby Parkinson. For a Niners standpoint, I do like Kittle in this one. He has been the most consistent receiving option for Brock Purdy basically all year. So I did take his over 61.5 receiving yards. And then I did look at Guerendo's rushing attempts as well. So I took his over rushing attempts at 14.5. I do think, again, this should be a pretty close one, but I just think the Rams offense is just too much for the Niners at this point in the year.
Yeah, we are going to disagree because I am riding these 49ers, this home team here, -2.5, -3, whatever you want it at. If you want to lay the juice or you want to go ahead and I don't mind the -3 at plus money or whatever it can be. So here's my thing. We talk about history, right? You talk about this 49ers team has really handled this Los Angeles Rams team historically at home. And there's a revenge angle. Week 3 of the year, the Rams came back and beat the 49ers. But if we look back at that game, that is the game where Jake Moody got hurt. So, you go to the game cast. San Francisco was control of that game the whole time, all the way up until the end, because they couldn't kick field goals. They didn't have a kicker. They would have put the game away. That wasn't the case. So I think they come back with a vengeance, and they need it. They need it. Look, no Trent Williams definitely hurts, but you got Nick Bosa trying it out. Isaac Guerendo, I think he has a great matchup. Now, this is a risky play. I will put my hand up. But the whole time, the plan was no practice Monday and Tuesday. We'll see where he's at Wednesday. Guerendo's been saying he feels good the whole time. So I think that he's going to have a great game. I'm starting him in fantasy, and I'm betting on him. You talked about his rush attempts. I like that at 14.5. I also like his yards over 16.5, but I'm going to ladder him up. 80 plus, 240 plus 240, 90 plus, 4-1, 100 plus, 6-1. Look, his worst game when he's had double-digit carries was last week when he left early to an injury. He put up 78 yards. He was putting up 99 yards, 80 yards. He is capable of carrying the load, and I think that's what he's going to do. This is a desperate 49ers team. This is their playoffs right now. The playoff starts now for this team. I think they get it together. I think that the defense is going to be able to – that Los Angeles Rams team had a perfect game last week. They needed everything, and they still only won by 2. I think it was a lot more emotional of a win. I do not think that is what we're going to see tonight. I think this 49ers defense is going to give them some trouble. They're actually a pretty good defense against the pass, giving up only 183 yards, which is what the Rams want to do. They're not bad against the run, but I think the biggest matchup is the Rams defensive line against the San Francisco 49ers running game. Not only are they giving up 140 yards on the ground a game, they're also giving up 4.7 yards a carry. It's almost 5 yards a carry. I think San Francisco gets out in front. I think they're able to turn Matthew Stafford over, and I think they control the game there. So I like San Francisco. I like Garendo. I also like Brock Purdy, pass and rush yards over 278.5. Last time he almost threw for 300 yards, and he also rushed for 40 yards. I think that he could scamper around with his legs. I talked about Kobe Durant being out. That may mean that Emmanuel Forbes, who nobody wanted, is going to probably see the field tonight. That is a stick figure. He's not going to have a chance. Whether it's going to be Jawan Jennings, George Kittle, maybe they finally get Debo involved, Ricky Pearsall. I don't want to play the game of who is it. Who's Kyle Shanahan going to pick to favor this week? I'm just going to say Brock Purdy has himself a game. The other way I'm going to go with this, I love defense. So I'm going to go Fred Warner under 3.5 solo tackles at plus 125. I was thinking I was coming in going to bet his over because he leads the team with 91 tackles. He hasn't hit this number in 4 straight games. He's talked about he's playing through an injury. I think it's like a broken bone in his ankle or something like that. He's struggling. He's trying to fight through it. But this is not the same Fred Warner. So I think we take advantage of a nice number here. And then on the Rams side, because I like the number so much, Demarcus Robinson, anytime touchdown, 4-1 plus 350, wherever you want to get it at. He leads the team with 7 receiving touchdowns. And I know what you're saying. Oh, that was probably all when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were out. He's hit this in 2 out of the last 3 games. He went out of the game last week early, so he didn't have the chance. Stafford loves him in the red zone. All the eyes are going to be on Kupp and Nacua. I think Robinson gets himself in the end zone at 4-1. And then Joshua Carty, over 1.5 field goals, sitting at plus money there. I think that the Rams, they converted a lot of touchdowns last week. They had problems doing that all year. They had a team that struggled in the red zone. I think it comes back, and they have to kick some field goals, so I think Carty gets at least 2 there. So we're on the same side on a couple props, but definitely differing on the side there. I like 49ers. Derek likes the Rams, so we will see here in just about 5 minutes. You got anything else for this game, or are we going to get out of here?
Yeah, no, I just you mentioned I guess I can't remember what I was going for. No, I just think going back to that week 3 matchup, these are 2 completely different teams at this point. I think the Rams offensive line is finally healthy. The Niners are beat up everywhere with Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk are both out. Defensively, who knows what Nick Bosa is going to give you? Obviously, Javon Hargrave's been on the IR. I mean, I just think they're moving in different directions at this point in the year. But
the good thing is we don't have to wait long to see who's right because this thing is about to kick off right now. So, hey, folks, we will see. We'll see what side you're on, but we are overlaid on a couple props. So hopefully you're finding one that you like and you get down with us and we have a good time there. All right, let's work on getting out of here. Do you have anything for the good people before we do just that?
You know what? You know what next week is?
What's next week?
Or not next week. Saturday, actually.
Army Navy?
Well, besides that.
No, I have no
idea. My birthday. So I'm looking for a hell of a weekend. With
wow.
Sunday.
I feel like an asshole.
Yeah.
Well, how'd you just bring that up? How'd you just think of that randomly right now?
I don't know.
That's very new.
Saturday, Army Navy game. Sunday, I mean, lasers are locked in.
Lasers are focused, man. Now I feel like shit disagreeing with you right before your birthday. So it's your birthday week. So, take that as you will, audience. But we definitely be wishing you a happy birthday on Saturday. And look, folks, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate any likes, comments, follow, subscribe. If you want to sing Derek happy birthday in the chat, he will go back and read every single one. Maybe we'll get him to sing a song next week. See how it feels to be dirty and 30. All right, folks, you know what they say. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. All right, folks, from both of us here at the Degen Docs, don't forget to
let it ride.
What's up, Degens? Doc here. As a proud member of the U.S. Army and a lover of football, sometimes those 2 things cross over on here. But as you probably already know, as a lowly captain, these are just my opinions. These are not opinions that are representative of the entire DoD or the U.S. Army. The same thing goes for any references to any commercial products or hyperlinks. Again, that does not constitute an endorsement from the DoD or the Army. I hope you enjoyed the show, and as always, let it ride, baby.